My name's Joey Deanna. I'm from the Washington, D.C. area, and I am a colorist and online editor. I've worked in post-production as a professional creative for about 20 years. Honestly, basically 100% of my work is both acquired and finished digitally. That said, every so often I do get to work with some stuff that is acquired on film, and it's a ton of fun. I still love film as an acquisition medium. It captures so much detail and color information and gives you so much latitude to work with in post. So I do love working with film when the opportunity comes up, but almost everything I do is captured on digital cinema cameras. I'm pretty much entirely self-taught in what I actually do for a job as a colorist and an online editor. I started out in a post-production facility and was fortunate enough to have some really, really good mentors that taught me how to edit, how to do online editing, how to deal with equipment, a lot of the creative side, how to deal with people. And I did go to college. I got a communications degree, and I think that was definitely valuable. There was a lot of little things that I didn't know that I picked up in college, but in terms of what I actually do, I'm mostly self-taught. I am a complete night owl. I work late. Working from home has made that a lot easier. I do not do well in the morning. I need a bunch of coffee and a little bit of time to get myself into the zone before I can really be productive. So absolutely night owl. The thing I wish I had learned sooner is that television and film is absolutely a people business. We do creative work with a lot of different people, and we collaborate with a lot of different creatives in the production and post-production pipeline. And you know, that means dealing with a lot of different personalities, a lot of different communication styles, things like that. And being able to navigate the people side of the business, not just the creative and technical side, is just a skill that takes years and years to evolve, and you never really perfect it. But I feel like it is so essential to being successful in this business that I wish I had focused more on learning those interpersonal skills of dealing with other creatives and collaborating a little bit sooner. For me, it's all about rock and roll. Classic rock, hair metal, 80s music. I love rock and roll and metal. My area specialty is as a colorist, and that means I kind of take the original camera images from a film or a TV show and essentially do the digital equivalent of developing them as if they were film. We take log or raw camera images and transform them into a displayable image, and there's a lot of creativity that goes into how you do that and how you make the image look. Now, I started off in linear tape-to-tape online editing. So we would take an offline edit that was done at low resolution and then reassemble it at full resolution using videotape decks and video equipment. And there was always a little bit of a color component to that. We were doing small color corrections and color tweaks to make everything look how it should. But as technology evolved, the television world moved to using digital cinema cameras that shot in log or raw formats, and color correction went from small tweaks, make it a little bit brighter, make it a little bit darker, whatever, to an absolutely critical part of the post-production pipeline. And that's what really drew me into color grading. And that's kind of when I transitioned from a online editor to dedicated to being as a colorist, as the evolution of digital cinema came to television. My favorite movies are all kind of 80s or 90s sci-fi. And when I was a kid, that meant the original 6 Star Trek movies. I loved them. We had them on Laserdisc, and I basically wore out the Laserdiscs watching them over and over again. Today, I would say my favorite movie of all time is James Cameron's The Abyss. Still waiting for a good Blu-ray release of that one. And also, I have to admit, I just saw Top Gun Maverick, and that was just a phenomenal time at the movies. I loved that movie. My go-to comfort food is any kind of breakfast food. I love pancakes, waffles, eggs. Breakfast food any time of the day for any meal is the greatest thing in the world to me. The one thing I really wish I could have worked on, but didn't, was a few years back, Discovery and the BBC did a documentary series called When We Left Earth. It was kind of chronicling the United States space program from the original Mercury launches all the way through landing on the moon and the space shuttle. And they went to NASA and got a whole bunch of original film that had never been scanned, did clean, beautiful scans of it, and I think it's one of the greatest space documentaries ever made, and I loved it when it came out. I still watch it regularly, and that's one of those projects that's kind of like once in a lifetime. I wish I was able to work on something like that with material that important. I kind of grew up around news stations, TV studios, and production because my dad was a broadcast engineer in Washington, D.C., which is one of the biggest news towns in the world. So he used to bring me into work, and I would see all of this really cool, impressive broadcast gear. And especially when I started seeing and getting to play with these big studio switchers that had, you know, big levers and light up buttons and lots of cool stuff. As a kid, it looked to me like you were flying a spaceship, and I knew I wanted to play with that stuff. And it just got the creative juices flowing in my head, and I wanted to work in television from that moment on. And I've always worked in television my entire career ever since. In general, when I'm doing my color grading, I have some music playing in the background. I like having the music going, but then when I'm watching down shows and reviewing, obviously I have to have the sound from the show on for context. But in general, I usually do have music on when I'm working. Well, because I deal in very specific color critical decision making, my environment is kind of set for me. I need a what's called color critical viewing environment to do my job. I have color calibrated neutral gray walls, color calibrated lighting in the room, and a color calibrated reference monitor. So unfortunately, I don't have a lot of options for building a creative space to work in. To do color work, your environment has to kind of be a boring gray.